Highguard finally dropped at the end of January after that flashy reveal at the 2025 Game Awards, and if you're just jumping in now, welcome to the chaos. On the surface, it looks like a pretty straightforward free-to-play raid shooter, but trust me, once you put a few hours in, you start realizing there's a lot more going on under the hood. Systems stack on systems, and the game slowly opens up in ways the tutorial doesn't fully prepare you for. Now, the tutorial does a solid job of teaching you the basics, but your first real raids, especially with other players, can feel confusing and a bit overwhelming. That's exactly why in this video, we're going over some essential tips and tricks for beginners in Highguard. Think of this as the stuff you wish the game told you earlier, the little habits and decisions that make your run smoother, your loot better, and your survival chances way higher. If you're new or just feel a bit lost, you're in the right place. I'm quickly moving on to the video.
Audience
Before we
is subscribed to the
if you
channel.
enjoy these types of list
Please
videos,
don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos.
Subscribe. Enjoy watching.
Thanks.
When you jump into Highguard for the first time, you are greeted with 8 different characters right from launch. They are split across assault, defense, recon, and support, but do not let those labels stress you out too much. Early on, almost every character can be played both aggressively and defensively as long as your equipment makes sense. In your first few matches, you will probably notice that weapons do most of the heavy lifting, while abilities sit more in the background. Because of that, there is honestly nothing wrong with picking the character that simply looks the coolest to you. That said, if you want a small, beginner-friendly push in the right direction, choosing someone with simple and forgiving abilities helps a lot. A character like Slade is a solid example, since his kit is easy to understand and does not demand perfect timing or deep game knowledge. This lets you focus on learning movement, gunplay, and map awareness instead of constantly worrying about ability management. Once you are comfortable with the basics, you can experiment more and really start squeezing value out of different characters and playstyles. When you are playing with a squad full of new players, sticking with the recommended base is almost always the smart move. The game actually selects this base for you based on your team's composition, including archetypes and abilities, so it is doing a lot of the thinking for you. Early on, this saves you from bad setups and awkward starts, and it helps your team feel more balanced without needing deep knowledge of every option. There is no shortcut to learning all the bases in Highguard though. You really have to play matches and gain experience over time. That said, do not just skip past the base details before a match starts. Take a moment to look at the layout, the different sections, and how everything is distributed. Little by little, this builds your understanding and makes it much easier to choose the right base yourself once you are more familiar with the game and its characters. During the first phase of a Highguard match, you are asked to set up your base and lock in your loadout. This is also where wall reinforcement comes into play, and each player gets 5 pieces of equipment to reinforce walls. With a full team, that adds up quickly and suddenly it can feel overwhelming trying to decide what to reinforce and where. Early on, do not overthink this part because there are a lot of valid options and no single perfect answer. For your first matches, keep it simple and effective. Just reinforce the 5 walls closest to each objective, since those are the spots enemies are most likely to hit first. You can even stack 2 reinforcements on the same column if it makes sense. This approach is more than enough to slow attackers down and buy your team some breathing room while they try to break into your base. One of the first real choices you face in Highguard is how you want to gear up. You can either farm crystals and spend them at the trader for weapons and items, or you can roam the map and open chests for random rewards. Both options are perfectly valid, but they both cost time, which is the most important resource during the early stages of a match. In some areas, you will even find crystals and chests close to each other, which can make the decision feel a bit awkward. Because of that, it is a good idea to have a plan before the match really gets going. Decide where you want to spend most of your time and how you want to improve your loadout instead of running around without a clear goal. So, which option is actually better? The honest answer is that there is no single correct choice. That said, from my experience, farming crystals during the initial gear up phase is almost always worth it. Early in the match, neither team can realistically get very rare weapons, so the advantage you gain from lucky chest drops is often smaller than you might expect. Because of this, saving up your currency early makes a lot of sense. Spend some of it on armor and one weapon that fits your playstyle, then shift your focus toward opening chests afterward. At that point, you are better equipped and more prepared to take advantage of whatever you find. Also, do not ignore the crystal breaking minigame. The timing is always the same, so after a few matches, you can get it down consistently. If you break a crystal perfectly, the next one goes down in a single hit, which saves time and makes crystal farming much more efficient. One of the coolest mechanics in Highguard is the ability to summon your mount almost whenever you want. It is flexible, fast, and surprisingly useful if you know when to rely on it. For beginners, there are two main situations where mounts really shine: moving around the map quickly and getting out of trouble when things go wrong. During the loot phase, your mount should be your best friend. Use it freely to move between chest locations and crystal spots as fast as possible. Time matters a lot here, and covering ground quickly means better gear before fights start breaking out. There is really no downside to using your mount in this phase, so do not hold back. The same idea applies when it is time to grab the shield breaker. Once you have the sword and you are ready to move, summoning your mount helps you reposition faster and reach your destination before the enemy can properly react. Even if you feel a bit exposed, speed is usually worth the risk here. Yes, being mounted can make you an easier target, but in most cases, reaching your objective faster outweighs that downside. A moving target that arrives early is often more dangerous than a slow one that stays safe. Especially for beginners, speed creates opportunities and reduces mistakes. Where mounts start to fall off is during actual combat. Fighting while mounted can look amazing and sometimes even works, but most of the time you are at a disadvantage. Your mount has limited health, it is a huge target, and enemies will not miss their shots. On top of that, when your mount goes down, you are left immobile and vulnerable for a few seconds. Unless you have invested heavily into mount upgrades, this can easily turn a fight against you. For most situations, it is better to dismount before committing to a real engagement. Finally, if an enemy grabs the shield breaker and you are thinking about chasing them down, be careful. Unless you already have a clear advantage, chasing with a mount is usually a bad idea. A smarter option is to teleport back to base, set up outside of it, and wait in a hidden spot. More often than not, this patient approach works much better than a reckless pursuit. Once raid is successfully survived by either your team or the enemy, supply drops start entering the match, usually one during each loot phase. You will always see their icon on the map along with a timer showing when they are about to land, so there is no excuse to miss them. Even if you are busy looting or rotating, it is always worth keeping an eye on where and when they are coming down. The area around a supply drop can quickly turn into a danger zone, since both teams usually want the same reward. That said, the risk is often justified by what you can find inside. These drops tend to contain multiple armor pieces and sometimes even more valuable gear that can swing the balance of a match in your favor. The real highlight though is the big rig. It is heavy and not the easiest weapon to move around with, but its stability, large magazine, and raw damage are on another level. In the right hands, it can win you multiple fights almost on its own. Just remember that it is a one-time special weapon, so if you die, it is gone for good. Once you break into the enemy base and it is time to plant the bombs, the big question is where to go first. Generator A, Generator D player B, or the main anchor all look tempting, and newer teams usually default to stacking everyone on a single objective. Plant the bomb, sit close, and try to defend it together. This is a safe and simple strategy, and it works fine when coordination or confidence is still low. But once you and your teammates feel more comfortable with your gunplay and abilities, you can start playing a bit smarter. A strong approach is to send 2 wardens to one objective and have the third apply pressure somewhere else. This forces the defending team to split their attention and creates openings you can exploit. Even if the second bomb does not go off, the distraction alone can be enough to secure the main objective. Thumper charges are one of those items you never think about until you really need one. You can buy them from the trader and they let you blow open reinforced walls inside the enemy base in just a few seconds. Because of that, it is always a good habit to keep at least one in your inventory instead of using them all as soon as you get them. The main reason to save a charge is for special loot areas on the map. On most maps, there is a small zone packed with crystals and chests that sits behind a reinforced locked door. Your axe will not do anything here, but a single thumper charge is all it takes to open the entrance and grab some very solid gear. Yes, you can also break these doors with a rocket launcher, but it is far from ideal. A thumper charge is faster, more reliable, and wastes fewer resources. Keeping one on hand gives you more options and often leads to a much stronger loadout than teams that forget about them. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.